And I was thinking about the top 3 reasons why I left evangelical Christianity. Number 2, the second reason why I rejected evangelical Christianity. I rejected the doctrine of hell. Yeah, that's right. You heard it here. I rejected the doctrine of hell. And you know what? I feel so much better. You see, I was taught that God will eternally torment most of humanity, all those billions of souls that he created. I mean, no telling how far back we go. I mean, the Neanderthals, I guess, how did they know anything, about gospel or, how does that go retroactive, to say Neanderthals? Were they born sinful too? That includes billions. Does that mean anything to you? These are actual, real people with real names and real faces and real families, with real mothers and fathers and real children and daughters and brothers and everything else. These are people that we're talking about, man. These aren't just like dots on a map that, they don't believe. Too bad they were born in Nigeria. They just didn't hear the gospel. Really? Are you going to sit there with a straight face and tell me that God is going to send untold billions of people to hell just because of where they happen to be born? But doesn't the book of Acts in our own Christian Bible say that God determined the boundaries all over the earth and where men should live so that they should seek him? Well, how do you know they're not seeking him just because they haven't heard about Jesus or the blood or the prospect of hell if they don't believe the right way? How do you know that they're not finding God appropriately and suitably to his liking? You don't. That's the thing. And I finally had to be honest with myself and admit, I don't know. I don't know either. It just seems so incredible to me that God would create billions, and in fact, most of humanity, let's just admit it, because that's what I was taught. Straight is the gate and narrow is the way that leads to life, and few there be who find it. What does that mean? That the vast majority of people are going to hell. That's how I was taught. That's how I interpreted it. So you're telling me I just happened to be born in the right family at the right time in history, under the right circumstances, in the right country, America, for me to punch my ticket to heaven? How did I get so damn lucky? You see what I mean? So how unlucky are you? Probably. You're in the vast majority of humanity. Chances are you're going to hell. But, if we really think about it, let's just take the 3 world religions. Okay? Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. All 3 claim themselves as an Abrahamic faith. Okay? So let's just take those. The Jews think we're wrong about Jesus as evangelicals. Again, I say me. I'm out of it now. We say that the Jews, unless they believe in Jesus, they're lost, right? But that's what we say. That's what we teach. Same with Muslims. Because as evangelical Christians, we believe that Islam is a false and demonic religion of idolatry, right? That's what I was taught. So then they're going to hell. Okay, well, then that leaves us as a Christian. Now, that is even before we get to the 45,000 denominations that divide Christianity proper. Okay. So, but let's just try to keep it easy. So out of those 3 Abrahamic religions, and with each one saying that the other one's going to hell because they're not believing the right way, what are the chances that I'm right? At best, out of those 3, it's a 33% chance that I'm right. And yet, I just assumed I'm right. I'm right. I'm one of God's elect. Those poor, pitiful souls over there, they just need Jesus. If we just use a little critical thinking about this whole prospect here, I think it would do a lot of us a lot of good. I think it could be a good intellectual enema to clear out all that toxicity that built up and accreted over all those years, indoctrinating us to think in such mindless, harmful ways toward others and toward ourselves. And so, why I changed my mind about the doctrine of hell is I studied church history. I mean, I really studied it. And I discovered that the history of hell is far more complicated than I realized, and that most people are being taught today. You see, many early Christian thinkers, including Origen and Clement of Alexandria, they held views that were restorative rather than punitive. In fact, the doctrine of eternal torment in hell was a minority position in the first 500 years of church history. Go look it up. Fact check me on that. You'll see it for yourself. Now, if it's such a fundamental doctrine that we must believe as evangelical Christians to be orthodox, to stay in that narrow way, why is it for the first 500 years, I guess many poor delusional Christians believed otherwise? In fact, universalism held great sway in the first 500 years of church history. There's good evidence that the doctrine of eternal hell is an invention that really more resembles Dante's Inferno. I can tell you this. The doctrine of eternal hell as we teach it and understand it today is nowhere taught in the Bible in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. You won't find it in the Hebrew Bible, and you won't find it in the New Testament, believe it or not, contrary to popular opinion. Now, I don't have time to get into all the exegesis here. That's not the object here. But suffice it to say, I had good reasons for rejecting the doctrine of hell. After I used my mind a little bit, sat down with a cup of Kool-Aid, and did a little critical thinking. My conclusion is I can no longer reconcile endless torture of billions of people, of most of humanity, of my children, your children, by a God of love.